you're doing well, and welcome to the Home Broadcasting Channel. My name is Mtalam Kosia. The inauguration of Yoweri Museveni for a seventh term marks another historic and controversial chapter in the politics of Uganda. For nearly 4 decades, one man remained at the center of Uganda's politics. President Yoweri Museveni, now sworn in for a 7th term, continues one of the longest presidencies in modern African history. For some Ugandans, Museveni represents stability, experience, and economic progress. For others, his continued stay in power raises serious questions about democracy, political transition, youth inclusion, and whether Uganda can still expect a different future under the same leadership. When Museveni came to power in 1986, after years of guerrilla warfare, many Ugandans viewed him as a liberator. Uganda had experienced political instability, military coups, economic collapse, and violent leadership under previous regimes. Museveni promised fundamental change, national unity, security, and economic recovery. In many ways, his government succeeded in restoring order and rebuilding institutions. Infrastructure improved, education expanded, and Uganda became one of East Africa's strategic economies. But today, 40 years later, Uganda is a very different country. The majority of the population is young. Millions of Ugandans were born long before Museveni became president. For many young people, they have never experienced another national leader. This creates a major political and psychological question for the country. Can a nation continue renewing itself politically if leadership never changes? Museveni's 7th term inauguration is not simply about another election victory. It is about the future direction of Uganda itself. Supporters argue that Uganda still needs his experience, especially in a region facing instability from South Sudan, Eastern Congo, Sudan, and terrorism threats linked to extremist groups in East Africa. They believe continuity protects Uganda from chaos. Many rural communities still support him strongly because they associate his leadership with peace and stability compared to Uganda's violent past. However, critics argue that stability without political renewal eventually becomes stagnation. Uganda's opposition has consistently accused the government of suppressing dissent, limiting political freedoms, arresting opposition leaders, and controlling state institutions. During recent elections, opposition figures such as Robert Chagulanyi accused the government of intimidation and unfair electoral practices. Human rights organizations have made also repeated raised concern about media freedom, disappearances, and restriction on civil liberties. The bigger question now is whether Museveni can still offer something genuinely new to Ugandans after nearly 4 decades in office. That is a central debate across Uganda today. Can the same leadership that has governed for 40 years suddenly reinvent itself? Can new ideas emerge from a system that has remained largely unchanged for decades? Many Ugandans are not only just asking whether Museveni can govern, they are asking whether he can transform Uganda into a country that fully benefits the next generation. Uganda faces enormous challenges. Youth unemployment remains one of the biggest problems. Every year, thousands of graduates enter the job market with limited opportunities. Many young people feel disconnected from political power and economic growth. Corruption continues to weaken public trust in institutions. Healthcare and education systems still struggle despite years of reform. Corruption continues to weaken public trust in institutions. Healthcare and education systems still struggle despite years of reforms. Rising public debt and economic pressures also becoming major concerns. If Museveni wants his 7th term to become remembered differently, then his term cannot simply be about maintaining power. It must become about legacy. Ugandans now expect practical solutions, not political slogans. One of the biggest expectations is economic transformation. Uganda has one of the youngest populations in the world. This young population can either become the country's greatest strength or its crisis. The government must create industries, modernize agriculture, support innovation, and attract investments that create real jobs. Young Ugandans are increasingly connected to the world through technology and social media. They compare the opportunities with youths in Kenya, Rwanda, South Africa, Europe, and the United States. They want inclusion, dignity, and economic mobility. Another expectation is political openness. Whether one supports Museveni or not, many Ugandans want a political environment where opposition voices can operate freely without fear. Strong nations are not built by silencing criticism. They are built by institutions that can survive beyond individuals. Uganda's long-term stability may depend not just on the leads today, but on whether the country can prepare for peaceful democratic transitions in the future. Museveni also faces pressure regarding succession politics. After nearly 40 years in office, questions naturally arise about what happens after him. Many African countries have experienced instability because leaders failed to prepare strong institutions for transition. Ugandans may now want clarity on whether the country's future depends entirely on one individual or on stable democratic systems. Internationally, Museveni remains an influential African leader. Uganda plays a key role in regional security and peacekeeping operations. Western governments often see Uganda as an important security partner despite criticism over government issues. But globally, perceptions are changing. African youths are increasingly demanding on accountability, transparency, and leadership renewal across the continent. Uganda is not isolated from these continental trends. The challenge from Museveni's seventh term is therefore both political and historical. History will not only judge how long he ruled, it will judge what kind of Uganda he leaves behind. Will Uganda emerge stronger institutionally? Will the economy create opportunities for ordinary citizens? Will political tensions reduce? Will democracy deepen? Or will the country remain trapped in endless debates about power and succession? This moment also sends a message to Africa. Across the continent, discussions continue about long-serving leaders, constitutional changes, and democratic transitions. Some African citizens believe experienced leaders provide stability. Others believe leadership renewal is necessary for innovation and accountability. Uganda now stands at the center of that continental conversation. For Museveni himself, this seventh term may represent the final opportunity to redefine his legacy. He has already secured his place in Uganda's history as one of the country's most influential leaders. But influence alone is not enough. Many Ugandans now expect transformation that directly improves their daily lives. Can Museveni surprise critics and introduce bold reforms? Can he open political space, empower younger leaders, reduce corruption, strengthen institutions, and modernize the economy in a way that it creates hope for the next generation? Or will Uganda simply witness another continuation of the same political cycle? Those are the questions millions of Ugandans are asking today. Because after nearly 40 years in power, people are no longer just looking for promises. They are looking for the proof that something different can still happen. And perhaps the biggest question of all is this: can a leader who has governed for almost 40 years still reinvent both himself and the future of Uganda? That is the challenge facing President Yoweri Museveni as he begins his seventh term. If you've got any questions or comments, please do so in the comment section. My name is Mtalam Kosia, and this is the Horn Broadcasting Channel.